Good morning. Well, got my Whitney Science shirt on right now, and I'm going to go through some old notes from 2011. 2011, so classics, if you will. Talking about pathogens to start off our immune system unit. Talk about things like bacteria, viruses, like the differences of them, how they're treated. We're going to get into fungus, and we'll talk about worms. So anyway, it's a fun subject. All right, back in the day, we used to have these things called essential questions, which I think are still good. But at the end of the notes, this is what you should be able to take away. Number one, understand what bacteria is and how they reproduce and how they're different from viruses. Know what a virus is and know, in terms of the way they're treated. So anyway, talk a little bit about fancy word, pathogen. So pathogen is anything that can damage your cells. This little beauty right here is a worm that they are pulling out of this dude's leg. Funny thing is some of these worms, like they have to be pulled out very slowly. Otherwise they break off and then they wiggle back inside the rest of them. So there's a lot of different types of worms. But anyway, it's anything that can damage your cells. And sometimes you can have these inside your body and not even know it. So a parasite is something that it benefits and the host is harmed. So there's all these different kinds of relationships in nature. We've kind of talked about them in the past a little bit, like symbiotic, like they both benefit. Well, a parasite is one benefits, the other one is harmed. So not all bacteria are parasites. In fact, there's some that we actually need in our digestive system so that we can get certain like vitamins and nutrients out of the food that we eat. But other ones will make you sick. Some of them will be in your body and they don't help you, then they don't hurt you. But we're going to focus more on the ones that can make you sick. So remember, anything that's alive has to coexist with this idea of charmed cells, homeostasis, reproduction, metabolism, and DNA. So bacteria fit into this. They're a different kind of cell. They're different than a eukaryote cell. Remember, they are a prokaryotic cell. Examples are E. coli, staph infection, and salmonella. So let's say you eat raw chicken. Well, you shouldn't eat raw chicken because some of it might have salmonella on it. Salmonella is a bacteria. Not all raw chicken is going to make you sick with salmonella. It has to have the bacteria. So that's why they always say cook your chicken all the way through. Make sure you wash the cutting board with hot soapy water and you wash your hands very well before you touch the food that you're going to eat. E. coli. Probably heard a little bit about E. coli in the news every once in a while. Like people will say, "Oh no, don't eat the lettuce or don't eat the spinach." Well, E. coli is going to be found in fecal matter, and then if they use that fecal matter to fertilize, or if it gets in the water, then the water gets on that has the E. coli in it gets on the plant. If it's not washed off really well, it could make you sick. Protists. Protists are a eukaryotic cell. They're single-celled. One of the big ones in the Sierra Nevada mountain range that you got to be worried about is this guy right here, Giardia. So I'm going backpacking this summer, and I have special water filters that are supposed to take care of Giardia. There's this meme. I should have went and found it, but they said, how much confidence do you have in your water filter? And it's this bear going diarrhea in the water. Because the idea is like if it's in the water and then it gets into your system by drinking it, now you have Giardia and now you are going to have explosive diarrhea. And then you got to go to the doctor and you got to get on special medications to take care of it. I was just finished a book about Deanna Kester, and she was talking about how she broke her foot in the beginning of her Olympic race, and turns out she had Giardia because when she was out running in Colorado, she didn't take the time to filter the water and she was just drinking from a stream because it looked clean. Anyway, over the course of time as she was getting treated for the Giardia, her bones started losing calcium because her body needed that calcium for muscle contractions, and her body was just all out of whack. Anyway, then she comes to this Olympic race and she just snaps her foot in like the first mile. So malaria is another protist. I would say that that's going to be through like mosquito bites, but the mosquitoes have to be infected with the malaria. We don't have mosquitoes in the United States that I'm aware of that have malaria in them, but like a lot of the tropical areas, they can. Panama Canal. I would tell you the Panama Canal was completed by the United States, USA, USA, because we went down there and we had to eradicate all the mosquitoes because people were dying of malaria. So the French started the Panama Canal and they weren't doing very well. And then the United States took it over. Their first job was to figure out why everybody was getting malaria. Mosquito bites. Fungus. Look at those toes right there. Oh, I can only imagine running in sandals and those things. Ugh. So, what is a fungus? A fungus does have a cell wall, but it is not a plant. It is not a plant because it doesn't do photosynthesis. So remember, kids, when you go out into your yard, do not walk around eating random mushrooms. Those are fungus. Don't want to do that. They can make you sick or kill you. But that's only one type of fungus. There's another kind of fungus that might live in your skin, and it actually embeds itself in your skin and it eats your skin cells. That's what's going on right here. Or maybe you've heard of ringworm. Ringworm is not a worm. It's actually a fungus that's sitting there eating your skin. So that's what's happened to this poor dude's toes. So that thing must hurt like I can't even imagine. So fungus. Fungus is a parasite. Why? Because it does not benefit the host to have toes that look like that. All right, there are animals that are considered parasites and pathogens, like tapeworms, the guinea worm, liver flukes. I would tell you that on our slideshow, I have linked to Monsters Inside Me. There's a lot of great videos if you want to get grossed out about all the different parasites. A lot of them are worms, like guys will be talking about like worms crawling over their eyes, or like people get bit by like just a bug and they think nothing of it, whereas like later on they have like a freaking worm popping out of it. So it's entertaining. It's definitely frightening, and it makes you really think about some of these tropical areas that you go to because that's where a lot of these things kind of come from. Plants. You're like, Dorchek, how are plants a parasite? Well, they're not really. But what happens is like when they make pollen, certain plants, some of us are allergic to the pollen. So the truth is they are not damaging. Like my wife has allergies, my daughter has allergies. I'm pretty lucky and I don't. Um, we breathe in the same pollen, but her body reacts as if it's like a foreign invader and she gets an immune response to it, which is another set of notes coming up. But yeah, it just triggers something inside our bodies when we breathe it in. So, and viruses. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about different viruses like the flu. But understand a virus is not considered living because it cannot reproduce on itself. It needs to invade your cells in order to reproduce. And what it tends to be is just like DNA, and it has like these protein markers on it. And if it matches up with your cells, it can insert its DNA in and take over the mechanisms of your cell, and then it uses that to reproduce. So, because they're not made of cells and because they can't reproduce on their own, we consider them in biology not living. So they have to infect me or you in order for them to like replicate. And the last one, this used to be a big thing in the news for a while, but prion. A prion is like mad cow disease, which is like a protein. And then if you ingest that protein, it's pathogenic and it can actually cause like disease. And like, for example, mad cow disease can create brain damage. So when these cows came in contact with this protein, and then like if you ate the cow, hamburger, steak, now you have it inside you, and it could cause brain damage. So they had to kill like just tons and tons of these cows. Pretty sad. Not all of them were infected, but if there was any in the herd that had mad cow disease, the whole herd had to be killed. So I think a lot of this was like in Canada, if I remember right. I might be wrong, but it really affected the cattle industry. So, all right, first set of notes done.